This is a geek protagonist with a RIP. Now, this is for a comic book legend in the name of Denny O'Neil. This guy was a big writer for Marvel and DC Comics. If you haven't heard of Dennis O'Neil, or a lot of people call him Denny O'Neil, if you bought some of the cartoons and stuff, you'll see him talk on there. Um, so just to give you a quick little lesson on him, he started with Marvel writing with the writing test that they used to have to come into comics. And basically, someone told him that he should try it, and he did it, and he got in there. He did some Daredevil, Doctor Strange. He wrote some X-Men, among a few others. He actually ended up leaving Marvel for a bit, going into Charlton Comics. And when he did those for a while, DC ended up buying them. I think that's where, as you know, him as Shazam, used to be Captain Marvel, comes from. And they got him on there by that DC takeover. So in DC, he wrote Wonder Woman, Justice League, some others. But to me, from what I followed and what I know him best for, it is then his mega, like to me, I consider his mega break was the Green Arrow. So when you hear people talk about it, and when you see Justice League Unlimited, and you see that Green Arrow and how he is, that Green Arrow is based off of Denny O'Neil's version, the one that was all about the politics and stuff, and like kind of like this is why we marched. So what he did with Green Arrow at one point, and sometimes it goes back and forth where he's wealthy, then he's not. You've seen the Arrow show, you know what I'm talking about. But they took the wealth away and made him a socially aware leftist. Now, now for anybody who's like a hard right, you should read these comics. By the way, anybody who's like a hard right, like oh god, why did he do it? Well, here's the counter that made it so cool. Then with Neil Adams, he wrote Green Lantern, and then it was a lot of Green Lantern, Green Arrow crossovers, and you'll see that a lot from back in the day. And Green Lantern, being a military guy, was a heavy right winger, and it touched on a lot of political and social issues. Whenever you hear about the landmark issue about your partner is a junkie, and you see Roy like smacking his arm, that was their anti-drug campaign, but it was through Green Arrow and Green Lantern talking about their different philosophies and different things that led into that situation. Excuse me. Um, Very, very, very good stuff. Very compelling, very powerful comic book writing. I think you can buy the collection of those. It was great because you got to see both sides of the argument, everything, and how they will argue, but yet they would get along. And there was a very special relationship, and it was just good writing. And that's how I feel people need to handle political and social things, where they're not bumping you over the head, but they're giving you both sides of the argument, where sometimes certain things are right on one, sometimes certain things are right on the other. And it fed it to you, but it fed it to you with an incredible story. And in the 70s, he did do a decent Superman run. I actually thought it was pretty good. But another clincher for him that a lot of people talk about, that I even, when I was younger, I wasn't born in the 70s. When I was younger, I got my hands on some of these comics. It was his Batman run. And that was because he got away from being Batman. He was one of the first people in a while to get away from Batman being less campy and more dark. He kind of brought the Joker into a more darker place, and Two-Face kind of got darker, which was needed, which slowly but surely between that and The Dark Knight Returns ended up leading to Batman 89, because most people wrote them very campy and silly. Nothing wrong with it. It worked. It saved Batman at the time, so I'm not clowning it, but I prefer the darker Batman. Um, and one of his biggest creations was that he created Ra's al Ghul and Talia al Ghul, and Leslie Tompkins. And before anyone tries to correct me, DC already acknowledged that any version of way you say it, whether it's Roz or Rays, both are correct. And now you see Ra's and Talia in live action Batman and live action Arrow, so they're alive and well. He was a prominent character in the Batman cartoon. That was by Denny. And I dare say that a very close challenger and a very close upper villain to Batman and to some other heroes is Ra's al Ghul. And also, too, he had a good run with the character The Shadow. He was very good at street level characters, but he did decent jobs with characters with powers and stuff, too. Um, he had a really good run with Spider Man. And like I said, then he went back, did some Daredevil. This is after The Shadow. He did some Daredevil. He did some Iron Man. Um, but doing Spider Man, he created, who should be getting a movie at some point, from what I understand, Madam Web. The character Hydro Man, which I have always enjoyed. I thought he was like a cool version of Sandman. For Iron Man, Obadiah Stane, who was in a Marvel film, who became one of Iron Man's big enemies. And Lady Deathstrike, Wolverine's enemy. And then he was a DC editor from 86 to 96. And he oversaw things like the death of Jason Todd and things like that. Legendary stuff. Uh, he also wrote for shows. He didn't just do comics, so he did like G.I. Joe, Logan's Run, Batman the Animated Series. He wrote for Superboy and a few others. And he has credit for naming the legendary Optimus Prime for Transformers when they had a comic book. There is just an overview of some of the legend that this man was. He passed away at 81 from natural causes. And I want to give my condolences out to a legend and to this legend's family. I hope you have a safe journey. And I hope on the other side you get to tell more stories as you've graced us with so many. Thank you, Denny O'Neil. Thank you for all your contributions. And once again, to his family, you have my condolences. And this is the Geek Protagonist. This is RIP. Shout out with love. I want you to stay safe, stay healthy, stay real. And I'll see you. Hey, thank you for visiting my channel. This is the Geek Protagonist. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Please, it'll really help me out in the channel if you actually share these videos. If you like what I'm doing, please hit that bell notification. Hit it, click. This way you won't miss any of my videos. Also, there's a thing on there that says personal and all. Hit the all. This way you'll get them every time for the notifications. I'm trying to, grow, trying to do commentary about what's going on. And I want to thank you again. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay real. This is the Geek Protagonist. I'm out, and I'll see you.